Thank you, Presiding Officer. And let me say there are many of us who are very grateful today for Liam MacArthur for raising this subject. It gives us the opportunity to hold the UK Government's proposal on the use of fossil fuel levy up to the light. When we do this, of course, it's impossible not to notice the serious loopholes and fundamental flaws which riddle this apparently generous offer. Mr MacArthur suggested there was a division between the First Minister and the Cabinet Secretary. I assure him there is not. The division on this matter is between the proposals now brought forward by Liberal Democrats and the manifesto on page 74, where it said a one-off payment in the 2011 budget give control of future revenues to the Scottish Government, likely to lead to an increase in resources for Scotland of around £250 million in 2011-12. A very distant offer from that which is now before us, which would see a 3-year period during which we are denied access to this money in any meaningful way. Our money as a Parliament, our money here in Scotland. I hope too that I can reassure Liam MacArthur that we are fully engaged on the SkyCon issue. There will be a meeting today with Scottish Enterprise and SkyCon. But of course, if we postpone this money until 2013, it is utterly irrelevant to any issues that there are on companies who have needs today. Very different from the proposition before us. And I do hope at the close of the debate, Liam MacArthur will be able to see this too, that is assuming he can't see the flaws already, as in instead choosing to draw a veil over them. Let me simply restate the basics of the situation. The fossil fuel levy surplus, money raised from renewable projects in Scotland, funded by Scots consumers, sits at £190 million. He may, of course, wish to amend his motion in that respect, and indeed he has resiled in only 9 days from £500 million that is referred to as being fossil fuel levy money in the press release from the Liberals on the 20th. By statute, the money can only be spent on promoting renewable energy in Scotland. However, that money simply can't be drawn down and spent for that purpose unless Treasury allows it to be added to the Scottish block spending limit, something it has repeatedly failed to do. I acknowledge that the outgoing Chancellor at the end of his term in office did show signs of movement on that, and we welcome that. Today's motion, in common with the UK Government's offer, pivots on the frankly risible proposition around the interpretation of the word additional. Let's be clear, the latest offer from the UK Government, uncritical support on the benches here, does not change the position of the previous administration by one iota. Effectively, the UK Government is saying that if we draw down our fossil fuel levy money and use it for our planned renewables expenditure over the next few years, then it will use its corresponding savings from reducing the Scottish block accordingly to then add to the Green Investment Bank, not directly under control of Scottish ministers or Parliament.
How does the Minister explain the enormous gulf in tone between what his government is saying and what all the Scottish business organisations and Scottish renewables are saying about the announcement?
Minister.
I think the member should be very, very careful indeed in ascribing to business and renewables any support for the proposition that's before the government here, before the Parliament here today. It is very clear there is very significant concern about timing of access to money. We should have access to this right now. In 2013, many of the key opportunities that there are for renewables industry in Scotland will have passed us by. That is one of the key facts. We add nothing to the proposition. It's your debate, members opposite. I hope that you will address these issues. We may see some issue of funds in 3 or 4 years' time. That doesn't help the immediate opportunities and needs that we have. And of course, the Green Investment Bank falls very far short of the £4 to £6 billion minimum demanded by the renewables industry, which would have already expected to deliver major investments and benefits for Scotland's renewable and low-carbon sector. It's absolutely unclear to me why anyone outside a narrow circle around the member proposing this motion should think this offer should really be welcome. It's also hard for me to reconcile this enthusiastic welcome for an offer which takes money away from the Scottish Parliament and renewable sector with the aim that I referred to in the Scottish Liberal Democrat manifesto last year. It will lead to an increase in resources for Scotland of 250 in 2011-12. Absolutely what the manifesto the member there signed up to. How that commitment has changed since Liam MacArthur's colleagues took the places in the new UK government. It's unravelled to the extent that Liam MacArthur's motion today hails as generous an offer which takes these vital resources away from the Scottish Government, away from Parliament, away from meeting the needs of the renewables industry. It is not in Scotland's interest, the offer that's before us. We've expressed our serious reservations and we ask for urgent clarification on vital aspects. As yet, these questions are not answered. What we see before us is a chimera, a conjuring trick, simply a con. A sleight of hand that takes money raised in Scotland, locks it away to meet an existing UK government commitment at some unspecified but probably distant future point. Rather than welcome such an offer, we will continue to fight with others who share that interest for Scotland's interests. I move the amendment that stands in my name, Presiding Officer.